right.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm here with Angela Baguet, who is the owner of Eco and Ivory Event Planning. And since the holidays are right around the corner, I thought it'd be a great idea to have her here. Ange, do you mind if I start asking you a few questions?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. How did you decide to become an eco-friendly design company?
Well, I have always loved planning parties and events. And as you know, we've done catering together. And back when I used to do catering, I used to spend way too much time on the design aspect, like lining up the forks perfectly. And even though I was supposed to be handling the food more. And then in my personal life, I really enjoyed planning parties for my kids and got way too into them. And enough people told me that I should just do it for a living. So I decided to get certified as an event designer and an event planner. And I used to be a child therapist. So I still wanted to do some good in the world. And that's when I realized that weddings can be very wasteful. So then I decided that I would look into being a green wedding professional, and I started to do some research around Pittsburgh, and it turns out that Pittsburgh is making a lot of strides with sustainability, but they don't have a sustainable event planner. So that's what made me take the leap and decide to start my own business.
They do now. You're it.
Yeah, they have me now.
That's awesome. I love it. Good points. But I do have to agree with you that Pittsburgh has taken some stride um, in sustainability because when I was working for sustainability like a few years ago, I was learning about all the different things that they were doing. And it's interesting that you pointed out how there's so much waste in event planning. Can you maybe point out some examples of waste?
Sure. So a lot of like weddings, for instance, will use a lot of decor that's made of plastic. And plastic is obviously not good for the environment. But it goes even way beyond that to the catering, like the types of food that's being served, and what's done with the leftover food afterward, how it's prepared, um, what's done with the flowers afterward, and the types of flowers that you're using, even the type of venue that you're using. There's a thing called LEED certification, where buildings are now following these certain steps to become LEED certified. So that means they're more sustainable buildings. So really, every step along the way of planning a wedding or event can be tweaked to be made more sustainable. And it can get overwhelming, which is why I'm here to help people, take on all the research, because there's a lot of research to be done if you're going to plan an eco-friendly event. But, some people might just want to do a little bit of eco-friendliness in their event, and that's okay too. Like any step you can take and every choice that you can make makes a difference.
I agree. Good, good, good. Can you give our listeners last minute eco friendly holiday ideas for entertaining?
Yeah, so as I kind of mentioned, eco-friendly takes a lot of research to do, takes some knowledge to know like what's all entailed in eco-friendly, and then research to like pull it off. So eco-friendly and last minute don't mash too well together, but here's what you can do. You want to avoid purchasing new items as much as possible, especially items made of plastic. You want to like use what's already out there in the world instead of like encouraging companies to make more products. So that idea is more sustainable. So to do that, you would use pre-used items for your serverware or your decor. And a good way to do that is to go to thrift stores, antique stores, or even look on Facebook Marketplace. Um, if you want to put more money into your holiday party, you could look into a rental company that rents things for, bigger events like weddings or corporate events, because even renting means that you're not using new items. But if you do really want to use new items, make sure that you're using 100% sustainable materials. And when trying to pull an event together last minute, you don't really want to get too hung up on a very specific color scheme or a style. So if you're really set on buffalo plaid, it's going to be hard to go out last minute and get all the buffalo plaid stuff when you're specifically looking for pre-used items and trying to avoid buying new items. So just be prepared to like mix and match some things if you can't find exactly what you're looking for. And just be prepared to make adjustments along the way. Like have your color scheme in mind, have your specific style in mind, but be okay with having to change the style up, or just if you can find a piece of something that's in one of your accent colors instead of your main color, maybe stray away from the main color and play around with your color scheme a little bit more. And finally, my last tip, this is not a popular tip, but doing grab bags and Secret Santa activities is not the most eco-friendly Christmas activity. It involves buying a lot of new products, many of which are not eco-friendly and end up going to waste if the person you buy it for is not going to use it. So maybe think of a way to switch it up a little and have a rule that everyone has to buy from a thrift store, buy pre-used items, or instead donate to a certain charity on behalf of that person. Get creative with it and see if you can come up with something that's still entertaining for your guests. You could always forego the activity altogether, but that's not as much fun. So just get creative and see if you can make those activities less wasteful.
I think those are really good tips. I never even thought for like grab bags to even go to like thrift stores or anything like that. Like I'm always thinking new, So
Yeah.
that's really good ideas.
Thanks.
No problem. What are some tips or must-haves for hosting holiday parties?
So I'd say aside from figuring out ways to keep your guests well fed, entertained, and happy, I don't have like major must-haves for me personally, other than just like throwing tradition out the window. I'm big on like trying new things and not feeling like you have to stick to, a certain color scheme or, certain ritual. So if you want to throw a hot pink Christmas party and you think you can pull it off, go for it. But in terms of eco-friendly must-haves, you definitely want to use reusable items when you can, pre-used items, just, avoid the disposable plastics, even use like linen napkins that can seem like more work for you because you have to do the laundry with those. And, it just adds a pop of color to your table as well. And it's also more eco-friendly.
Okay, that's very cool. So aside from using like plastic utensils, obviously they can use like utensils that they have at home, but if they don't have enough, another alternative, would you agree, would be bamboo, right?
Yes, if you're going to buy new, Amazon has a lot of bamboo products on there. Yeah, like eco-friendly materials, like bamboo. There are even dinnerware items made of like corn and sugar cane. They're coming up with all kinds of things. So just be sure to make sure read through everything and make sure that it's not a greenwashed product which is when a company tries to make something look eco-friendly when it's really not, and you look more into what it's made of and its origin, and you find that it's actually not eco-friendly.
Well, that's almost like food whenever they put like false stuff on like the label. So yeah, that's amazing that they do that for eco-friendly stuff now too. And plus, to start off the new year, this would be a good time for people to start composting, right?
Yes, composting is another big thing while you're in the process of cooking. If you have the ability to compost, go for it.
Yeah. So can you tell us about some eco-friendly holiday table settings?
Sure. So some ideas that I have are to use an edible centerpiece instead of something like buying a whole new centerpiece or buying a whole floral centerpiece. Use something edible such as a charcuterie board, or even make a charcuterie tower so that it adds some depth and interest to your table. You could also use flowers or seasonal greenery, but try to get organic, and definitely make sure that it is seasonal, which is easier around the holidays to pick out the seasonal stuff. And then if you do go that route, see if you can gift the centerpiece to someone or reuse it in some sort of way. And as I said, visiting local thrift stores and antique stores can be a way to find glassware for your table and table runners, but also think about if you can repurpose items that you already have. So you might have a festive scarf that's been sitting around and you're not using it for anything. Think of how you can incorporate that into your table setting. Like, could it act as a runner if it's big enough, or be draped around the centerpiece in some way? Start off with what you already have and try to build off of that. And get out there and go to the thrift stores, antique stores. It does take some diligence to do that, but just overall avoid turning back to the disposable items, and you should be good to go.
I love going through like racks and trying to find stuff, I always feel like it's a win whenever I do find something.
Yeah. And if you have like an idea of what you want going into it, it makes your shopping experience a little less stressful, because you can get overwhelmed when you go into a thrift store and not know where to start and want to look at everything. But if you tell yourself, I'm just going to go in and look at the glassware and and the flatware, then sometimes you can end up getting in and out of those places pretty quickly.
That's good stuff. Also, I was just thinking when you were talking about like flower centerpieces, could people dry out the flowers and put them in bath salts?
Yeah. If you're actually going to do that, and you want to like make a commitment to yourself to do that, that would be a way to, if you're actually going to use it too, like that's definitely an option. Or if you could regift the bath salts to people, you could do that.
Cool. All right. And then this is the last question, Ange. I'm so sad. What are some ideas for charcuterie boards that are festive and sustainable?
Yeah, so by the way, I love charcuterie boards, and you make the best charcuterie boards. And I think you get like such good ingredients for them. It looks nice too, but like it's always interesting, like sampling what you've discovered at the store.
Thanks. Oh my gosh, I could live off of charcuterie boards, I swear.
I could too. Like you don't need the rest of the meal, because there's just so much going on with it that it's filling enough. But anyway, if you want it to be sustainable, make sure that you buy local, seasonal, and organic as much as possible. And that goes for the rest of your food as well. If you're going to have any chocolate or certain foods, you want to look for fair trade on it, to make sure that the food you're buying is ethically sourced as well. But a big thing, if you're going to do a charcuterie board, is you don't want to be too wasteful. So make sure you're buying stuff that you're going to eat later, or you could cook with later, or somebody will want to take home later. You just don't want any of it to get dumped into the garbage. And you'll also want to make sure that the food isn't sitting out for more than 2 hours so that it doesn't go bad, because then that's being wasteful too. So make a plan if you're going to do the charcuterie board for a specific time period that you'll have it out for. And especially if you're having it as a centerpiece of your dinner table, and eventually you'll move other food items onto the table, you can remove that and get it properly stored. But bigger isn't always better. Some people will actually appreciate a smaller charcuterie board with sustainable, high quality items rather than a board where you're trying to get everything on it so that it looks glamorous and gorgeous, but you used cheaper ingredients. So keep that in mind. And if you're looking for some fillers for your board, you can always use organic herbs as fillers, like sage or rosemary, and then freeze those herbs and cook with them later.
Oh, that's cool. What about grapes too? Because you could freeze those too.
Yeah, grapes too. Those make good fillers.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I love those tips so much. Oh my gosh. So what our viewers don't know is I'm going to be seeing you in a few days. We need to have a charcuterie board.
Yes. I have a large board. So, and I know the temptation to fill that whole board with food is there. So we'll think of ways to fill it up without being wasteful, because there will be a small handful of us eating off of it.
Should we do a video of our charcuterie board building?
Ooh, maybe we should.
That's awesome. Angela, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it so much. And you gave so many helpful tips, because holidays are stressful, always down to the wire sometimes. And these last minute tips and tricks were very helpful. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
Hope you have a happy holiday, and thanks so much for featuring me.
No problem. So if people want to book event planning with you, can you tell them where they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can find me at www.eco-friendlier.com. I also have an Instagram page at Eco and Ivory.
That's
and
awesome.
On my website, I have links that you can click on to contact me with. But if you want to reach out to me via email, it's angela@eco-and-ivory-events.com.
That's perfect. I'll make sure whenever I post this YouTube video to make sure to have that stuff under there too.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem. Have a great night.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye.